outtakes, I think. Hey, what's going on, you guys? Jamie MacDonald here. I know it's been a minute since I put together a video, and again, I do apologize for that. I'm trying to kickstart doing some vlogging using my phone, just waiting on a little bit of feedback from you guys and whether or not the videos produced with that are worth anything. If they are, I'll try to keep doing that. You know, it's so much easier to do it from your phone than it is to put together a video using camera equipment and sitting down and editing and all that stuff. I'm sure you understand. Kind of tough when you have a day job and you're trying to do the photography thing as well. But today's video, I'm not here to apologize for the vlog. I'm not here to even show you a vlog. I'm here to talk about a religious experience. Okay, maybe that's pushing it a little bit far. But I am definitely talking about what I am going to be calling from here on out the Holy Trinity of Prime lenses. Just recently returned from San Francisco with Olympus, where we did our annual summit that was in conjunction with a kind of like a meetup with a bunch of super fans, as they're being dubbed, hardcore Olympus users and supporters. We were all there for several days, exploring San Francisco, shooting everything from the Mission District to the Marin Headlands and everything in between. And while we were there, I was lucky enough to pick up this, the 45mm f1.2, Olympus's new, I'm going to say, just beast mode portrait lens. Set that down. I've already had the 25mm f1.2 for quite a while now, so I'm very familiar with this lens, and again, it is definitely a workhorse, especially for somebody shooting portraits. But then there's the completion of the Holy Trinity, and that is the 17mm f1.2. So 3 super fast primes from Olympus, and today we're going to talk a little bit about those lenses, how I've been using them since I got a hold of them, and then I'll share some sample photos that I created while in San Francisco with these lenses. Literally only had them for about a week now, so let's get rocking and rolling. Oh, and we're going to do a little bit of comparison too, like what these look like in comparison to their smaller, slower brethren, the 1.8 primes that are sitting back up there on the shelf. And I'll even throw them on an EM1 Mark II and on an Olympus Pen F, just so you can kind of get an idea of what these bad boys look like when they're attached to a camera. So let's do this. Alright, so first up, let's talk about the widest field of view lens that's in this trinity of lenses that I'm calling it, and that's going to be the 17mm f1.2. Now, if you've been shooting with Olympus for any period of time, you're probably familiar with their premium line of prime lenses, you know, which would be the 1.8 lenses, and those are the 17mm, there's a 25, there's a 45, and there's a 75. So the matching lens on the premium side is this one right here. This is the 17mm f1.8. Now, I have the silver body version of it here. I do have the black lens cap. That's by choice. I just kind of like the way this looks on my silver pen. But here is the big boy. So this is the pro version. This is the 17mm f1.2. Now, definitely a difference in size here, obviously. I mean, we're talking physics, folks. In order to get that bright of an aperture, there's a lot more lens work, or a lot more element work going on inside of this to be able to gather that kind of light. So what are the trade-offs here? What are you getting? We're going to sacrifice portability, obviously, with the 1.8, right? There's no way, again, to make this as small as this and maintain the quality of this. Still a great lens. Definitely a lens of choice for ultra portability. You throw this on the Pen F and you have a very diminutive street shooting setup with a perfect field of view for just being out in the streets. Now, where you step it up a notch is when you bring in the f1.2 aperture. So again, being a pro lens, we've now got a weather sealed body, which is great for somebody like me who likes to spend time outdoors even when it's not sunny and blue skies. So if it's raining or snowing, it doesn't matter. This lens is definitely going to handle those elements. And like the other pro lenses, we have the focus clutch. Indispensable. I cannot even begin to express how much I use the focus clutches on these lenses. It is something that I really don't know how I ever made it without, to be honest with you. And of course, we have a lens function button as well. Just a little tip, something that I've been doing since I've gotten my hands on the super primes, the Trinity, if you will. I I'm using this lens function button as a depth of field preview. I never used depth of field preview before with anything, ever, to be honest with you. But when you're shooting at f1.2, even if you're on the crop sensor, you know, everybody's going to throw the crop sensor thing up, and it doesn't really matter to me at this point with f1.2, but it still is a very narrow depth of field. So this lens function button for me personally is set up to be a depth of field preview. Very handy. So again, we've got 1.2, 1.8, massive difference in size. And at the end of this video, I'm probably going to do just some little side-by-side comparison, either photos or video on different bodies, so you actually get like a really good feel for the size difference. So this is, again, the 17mm 1.8 and the Beauty 1.2. Let's move on to something a little bit longer in reach. All right, let's do the 25, all right? 25mm f1.8. Again, very small, diminutive, super compact, perfect for travel. Not saying that this goes away, and not saying this doesn't have a use anymore, but come on, 1.2. I mean, ridiculously massive amount of light gathering here. Perfect for replacing the nifty 50 for people moving over from full frame systems, or if you're on a crop sensor or whatever. When I say crop, I mean like APS-C. I don't even follow that stuff anymore. Anyways, so again, this is going to be very similar to like the 17mm, and as will be the 45mm, and that it has the focus clutch. Again, can't live without it. And I will reiterate the fact that the lens function button found on this lens, for me personally, functions as my depth of field preview. Other good uses for it might be to turn on focus peaking, anything to assist in really nailing down that focus when you're working with such a narrow depth of field. Perfect for, again, this is kind of like I would consider it like the midsection up portrait lens. Great, you know, you can do headshots with it, of course, obviously, but I've been using this when I'm shooting people. Generally, it's kind of like a waist up portrait type setup for me, or just general shooting out in the streets for, I'm not like a hardcore street shooter, so I'm not really good at like getting up and just getting those shots right in people's faces. So if I can hang back a little bit, I'll hang back and I'll shoot with the 25mm. And again, at the end of the video, there will be comparisons that show both lenses mounted on a couple of different cameras, so you get an idea of size. But again, you know, here side by side, quite a difference in size. 25, 1.2, second part of the Trinity. Definitely deserves a drink. Last but not least, 45mm. 45mm f1.8. Isn't it cute? It's a great lens. Great, definitely intro into the world of portrait photography for somebody in Micro Four Thirds. If you go on any of the Micro Four Thirds group or the Olympus groups and say, hey, I want to start doing portrait work, if they don't mention the new 45mm f1.2, they mention this, the 45mm f1.8. But now, the Trinity is complete. The 45mm f1.2. I literally just got goosebumps thinking about a shot that I'm going to share with this lens. It is bonkers. I really don't even have any other way to describe the look you're going to get shooting with this lens. Again, obviously, significantly, I mean, it can literally eat the 1.8. A lot bigger lens. And I say a lot bigger, but let's compare the 45mm f1.2, again, which I'll note, focus clutch, of course, lens function button, of course, depth of field preview for me, okay? So let's compare this, though. We're talking about three different lenses, three completely different sizes, right? We're talking the 17mm, which is, it's a pretty wide lens. It's not, you know, landscape wide, but it's wide. It's all-purpose walking around the streets wide. And then we step up to the 25mm, which is a 50mm focal length equivalent for you full frame people out there who haven't figured it out yet. And then we've got 45. Completely different focal lengths, right? Completely different fields of view. And I'm leaning over to grab another lens to do this. So the lenses should be obviously completely different in size, right? Not so much. The engineers at Olympus are like mad scientist geniuses, and they have somehow managed to make 3 lenses, and I've only got room for 2 lenses in my hands right now, but they've somehow managed to make 3 lenses. Not like they're heavy. That are all pretty much the exact same size. What? How does it even work? It's like they're just, I don't even know what they're doing. Are they like cheating physics? What are they doing here? It's pretty awesome. Now, there are a couple of reasons why this is, I think, kind of a big deal for a lot of people. Me included, it's definitely going to be a big deal. One of them is bag size. For one thing, I'm not looking at filling up my bag with a crap load of weight. All 3 lenses, very similar in weight. Of course, some of them are going to weigh a little bit more or less than the others because of the elements inside of them. But size-wise, the space requirements, it's pretty much identical. And what's really awesome is, oh, I can't see. I'm getting old. 62 millimeter filter thread on the 17. On the 25, though, what do we have? 62 millimeter filter thread. Well, it can't be the same on the 45. 62 millimeter filter thread. You're not buying a whole slew of different filters for your lenses. One size filter to rule the Trinity, right? That's pretty cool. So for somebody like me who's using the Nisi filter system, it's not the most, not the quickest filter system to use, let's just say. There's a lot of work that goes into setting those filters up. If I just have one step down ring to use with all these lenses, amen. I mean, it saves me a lot of time and setup, which is great. Another thing too, let's just say you're doing a shoot, you know, and you're using, we'll say the 45 and the 17, and you're doing like a portrait shoot like in a park or something, right? And you got your lenses in your bag. You reach in, you pop one of these bad boys off, and you just throw it in your pocket, you throw it in the bag, wherever. And then you swap out lenses, and you throw on another one, and it's like, oh man, which lens cap goes to what? I mean, it's not the case anymore. They're all the same. Now, there is a catch. They can make things a little bit difficult. They are the same size. So it's not going to be the easiest thing to just reach into your bag and go by feel. The lens hoods are a little bit different. So when we've got the 17 millimeter here, we've got this pedal hood, which is different than, say, your standard hood that you would find on the 25 and the 45. Now, the 25 and the 45 do have the same hood. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to put a little label on my lens caps, at which point, you know, you might run into trouble interchanging lens caps at that point. But I'm also actually going to put a label on the lens hood as well, just for quick reference when swapping through. This isn't like a negative or a nitpick. It's just something where I'm just going to develop a new habit to work with new pieces of equipment. So that's the 3. That's the 3 held up. That's the 3 me freaking out about how awesome they are. But I'm really going to freak out when I start showing you guys these pictures, because the stuff I was able to create while touring through San Francisco with these primes it was a different experience for me. Again, the original primes, the premium lenses, the f1.8s, those were great. Don't get me wrong, totally great. But to be able to crank that aperture wide open to f1.2 allowed me to shoot in the evenings or in the shadows, in the streets, with really great shutter speeds, keeping my ISO low, and again, being able to use the ridiculous depth of field that you get at f1.2 just offers more creative opportunities as well. So let's just kind of get past me standing here talking to you, and we'll do some still shots of things that I shot in San Francisco, and then I think we'll conclude with maybe a few pictures of the lenses on different bodies, so you know what to expect if you're going to actually go out and order these lenses. So sit tight, let's get some pictures rolling, you guys. Alright, so I figured I'd start off with the Pen F and the 17mm f1.2 and 1.8. That's kind of a common setup for a lot of people that are into street shooting. I know Mike Baining is a humongous fan of the Pen F and the 17mm. So I'll show the two combinations. Here's a Pen F that has the 17mm f1.8 attached. Again, you can see very, very, very compact system this way. But, you know, again, you sacrifice a little bit in image quality and definitely sacrifice in low light shooting capabilities versus the f1.2. Definitely not as diminutive of a combination, but still very manageable. Again, I walked around the Mission District in San Francisco for several hours shooting with this as well as the other prime lenses on the Pen F. Balance is a little bit front heavy, obviously, with that large of a lens, but it's not unwieldy by any stretch of the imagination at all. It is actually a pretty comfortable combination to walk around with. No arm fatigue or anything like that, walking around shooting with that setup all day. So again, that's the Pen F and the two versions of the 17mm, just for size reference for you guys. And let's move on to the 25s. Alright, so here we go, the 25mm f1.2 and f1.8. Again, you know, quite a contrast in size there. But again, like I said before, you're going to start sacrificing features on the 25mm 1.8. We do not have the focus clutch, and of course there is no lens function button anywhere on this lens. And again, also not weather sealed, and you are at an f1.8 aperture. But if size is at a premium, then obviously you're going to want to go with what makes sense for your kit. The 25mm f1.2, of course, has the focus clutch on it, as well as a lens function button for you to assign to a feature. Again, I'll repeat this over and over again because I'm so happy with how it's working out. For me, that assignment has been for the depth of field preview, just because the depth of field is so shallow on this setup, but it is so fun to use. And the last combination comparison that we're going to do here with the Pen F is going to be, of course, with the 45mm 1.8 and the 1.2. So let's just get those queued up now. Alright, last but not certainly least, of course, is everybody's little love darling of portraiture and micro four thirds, the 45mm. And so on the right here, we've got the 45mm f1.8, and obviously on the left is the 45mm f1.2. The differences, again, are going to be the same. I've spoken to them earlier in the video as well. Size, obviously, is a factor when comparing these two lenses to one another. But, of course, so is aperture and features. Again, I'll repeat, the lens clutch is present on the 45mm f1.2, not present on the 45mm f1.8, nor do you get on the f1.8 the lens function button as well. And, of course, all of the Pro Primes, the 1.2s, are weather sealed as well. Granted, the Pen F is not weather sealed, but if you do put these lenses on, say, an EM1 Mark II or something of that nature, EM5 Mark II, then you get that weather sealing benefit. So here we go. There's your comparison for size. I'll just flip the cameras down a little bit here, let you get a peek at them. So there you go, the 1.2s on the Pen F. Now let's throw them on an EM1 Mark II and see what we get. Alright, so here we are, and I have my EM1 Mark II, which of course has the accessory battery grip attached. And on the camera right now is the 17mm f1.2. I just thought about it, and it doesn't make sense for me to go through and put all three of the primes on because they're all pretty much exactly the same in size. Really, the only differences you're going to find between these lenses are in weight. And again, like I mentioned earlier in the video, that's just due to the number of elements in their configuration within the lens. So again, it doesn't really make much sense to go through the process of putting them on the camera. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like on an EM1 Mark II, again with the grip. Definitely it's got a good feel, I'll just say that. Now I did do quite a bit of shooting in San Francisco, again with this combination as well, with the EM1 Mark II and all three of the Super Primes, I'm going to call them, the Pro Primes. And of course, you know, with this setup, camera balances out very well, and no issues there at all walking around shooting it. And that's kind of it for just showing you guys like the on the camera look and the comparisons between the lenses and all of that. And I think we'll just kind of end this video with some sample shots that were taken again on this trip that showcase just how wonderful these lenses are. Now, most of them are going to be from the Pen F, because I think I did the bulk of like that style of shooting was done with the Primes in the Mission District, and then a little bit in Chinatown, so I was carrying the Pen F for street shooting. But I do have some also that were shot on Alcatraz with the EM1 Mark II, this exact EM1 Mark II right here. So thanks for tuning in, you guys, and enjoy the slideshow, and I look forward to talking to you all later. Hey, and don't forget, swing on over to the Mirrorless Minutes Facebook page. We're giving away copies of Luminar from Skylum. Our buddy Scott Bourne, who happens to be the president of Skylum, told us, hey, why don't you guys give away some copies of Luminar? So that's what we're doing, folks. Just head over to Facebook and look up Mirrorless Minutes, give our page a like, leave a comment, and tag a friend in that comment, and then maybe one of you guys or both of you guys can win a copy of Luminar. Take care, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you around.